All right, YouTube. This is Detroit's HPTV coming to you out of Detroit on this Tuesday morning, back with another video. Today, we want to talk about Jamal Bryant, Al Sharpton, and a lot of the other fake reverends and pastors who have pledged their allegiance to the Democratic Party versus their allegiance to God and their church and their congregation. Now, what would make them think that Jamal Bryant can actually tell black men that they should vote for Kamala Harris? It's almost as if the Democratic Party go and pick the worst of us with the worst reputation and parade them in front of us as if they should be some type of moral leader. They should be able to guide us into some type of understanding of what we should do and what's right. But she keeps picking the most debaucherous, the most scandalized individuals. Jamal Bryant, he wants to lecture us about Kamala Harris, but he also wants his church to sell bud. You know, that was his great idea. But it's kind of like Kamala's as well, because Kamala is offering black men the opportunity to get high and get loans at this late hour. The pandering has reached a fever pitch because it's getting to the point that it's blatantly disrespectful. You know, the Democratic Party has totally infiltrated the black church. They have made deals with these pastors or something, because isn't there a separation of church and state? And the church shouldn't be involved in politics and swaying their congregations as far as who to vote for? That should question they 501c3s. That your church is not preaching the word. Your church is telling you why you should vote for a candidate. But these pastors, they won't speak against late term, termination of pregnancy, gender reassignment of children, open borders. These pastors, they're only going to teach you about prosperity teachings and how when you put your money in their collection plate, you sow a seed and your seed going to come back tenfold. And you know what I mean? The hustle is ridiculous. But in this dark time, you can see that the church has become a social place, a social gathering full of wickedness and partying. I remember when I did my story on TD Jakes. I did a story on TD Jakes. They struck my channel. Then I talked about him striking it, and they struck that video. These pastors and these churches and these people on the Democratic side are so powerful in their ability to censor you and to shut voices down, because they only want you to hear one narrative. Who is going to listen to Jamal Bryant? These times are getting weirder because you can't even trust the black church anymore. They have been totally co-opted by the Democratic Party. So you're not even hearing the word. You're hearing a narrative that's coming straight from Washington, D.C. across that pulpit. Now, I want to do a reaction video to Melanie King, and this is going to be for fair usage under the 1976 Copyright Act for education and commentary in the First Amendment. Listen to this story.
Jamal Bryant, as a follower of Christ, I'm going to hold you accountable for this because time is imperative right now. And I've seen a few things that you have done that was kind of controversial, and I never really spoke on it. But when it comes to you bringing this witch, that while weeping may endure for a night, joy cometh in the morning. Oh, you guys are at the wrong rally. No, I think you meant to go to the smaller one down the street. as a new senior pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist Church, succeeding the late Bishop Eddie Long. But Bryant's no stranger to the Atlanta area. He says his parents, also bishops, knew Eddie Long, and Long financed part of his education at Morehouse College.
All of us just dreamed of operating at the high level of ministry that Bishop Long has been able to exude.
Like Long, who died of cancer last year, Bryant has influence beyond the pulpit. A church that saw membership shrink amid sex abuse allegations involving Long. The bishop denied the claims, but settled the lawsuits behind closed doors, according to a source familiar with the case. You've been very open over the years about past infidelity.
Yes.
And in how you grew from that.
Yes.
What do you make of some people out there who will look at this decision to bring you in as senior pastor as New Birth trading one controversy for possibly another?
One of the churches that I went to at an early age was Bishop Eddie Long's church.
Hey, you were born to be president. You were born to lead a nation. You were born to change the trajectory of democracy. Who knows? But you were born for such a time as this.
You said something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister.
Yeah. Full stop.
Here's a guy that wants to tell us about how we should support Kamala Harris, but allegedly he had a whole child out of wedlock with another congregation member while he was married. And he wants to lecture us about misogyny and supporting a sister. First of all, we know Kamala Harris is not no sister. No matter how many times you try to say that this red dot Indian lady is a sister, no one's going to believe it because there's too much information out there that proves otherwise. But the very fact that they go into these same Negro preachers shows that they're out of touch with the common man. Nobody is following these people. Their credibility is shot. The Charlemagne's, Roland Martins, they've all been identified as shields and at the worst, treasonous traitors and bootlegs. Nobody is going to listen to them as it relates to voting in our own interests. Because on a whole nother level, when it comes to the Democratic Party, there are so many things that as men we should be voting against. But let's listen to the preacher some more.
And Mordecai was man enough to know that in order for me to be a man, I got to know how to support a woman. Something is wrong with brothers who don't know how to support a sister. It was a sister that raised you. It was a sister that taught you how to read. It was a sister that taught you how to bathe yourself.
In the context of the vice president, were you trying to send a message?
Okay. What does that have to do with Kamala Harris, though? Okay, yeah, we got black mothers and we got black sisters and black daughters or whatever. Tell me what that has to do with voting for Kamala Harris in the Democratic Party. This is getting real old. And at some point, they're going to have to realize that the church has been weaponized against the community, just like the liquor stores and every other thing that's bringing us down.
We've got to be able to vote. That misogyny is still real in our community. We've got to address it head on and not act like it doesn't exist. The reality is if black men had voted, Stacey Abrams would be a governor. And so I think that we've got to do some real redress that after racism, the biggest ill in America is sexism. And I think it's part of the responsibility of this generation to deal with it head on.
Why pay too much for cable TV when it costs less for Fubo TV? Get all the channels you want.
God help me, old saints, y'all forgive me, but I gotta tell you, these hoes ain't loyal.
Remember when Barack Obama scolded black men and they tried to say, oh, it wasn't meant to go out. It was just, internal talking and all of that. No, they filmed it. They put it out because it was supposed to,
I don't know what they doing in Atlanta. This pastor was at the rostrum in the podium and said, these hoes ain't loyal. At some point, we're going to have to throw whole Atlanta away.
Was supposed to be the grand wizard of the Black Father Democratic plantation that gave the signal that was the new messaging once they saw that they were bleeding Black men, even though they bled men across every racial group.
Do you think some of the resistance of some men, Black and white, is misogynist, and are you proud?
Look, they done got chicken eating Al, and they keep saying that Black men are misogynists, all because we don't want to vote for the Indian lady. Their tactics are not working. All through social media and all through the community, people are railing against this narrative that if we don't support Kamala Harris, we got a problem with Black women, as if we don't know that she's Southeast Indian, Asian lady, and she don't have any policies that I would vote for. Okay, she came out with a new thing where she's going to give Black men loans and let them have free bud, or legalized bud, but that's not enough to get a vote. And no matter how many of these played out preachers they bring out here, it only makes them look worse as a party.
To see that most Americans, even being polled, have no problem supporting a woman at all. And I'm one that lived from Shirley to Kamala in terms of these campaigns.
And I have the support of countless Black men who are in elected positions, including just this afternoon and 2 church visits today with the mayor of Atlanta. That being said, I think that you are absolutely right.
Okay? White college educated, because they like to do college educated, non-college educated, white college educated men, non-college educated men. I'm not even going to separate the rest. Latino men, Black men, they are seeing their bleeding numbers across the board in different groups, but we'll just stick to men. But they decided to chastise Black men and say, listen, you got to support the sister, as you just heard him say. What is so crazy about this pastor? This man of God, he is an absolute charlatan hypocrite. This is a man who was married, had his first lady. He had a child first out of wedlock before he married his wife. Then he and his wife had 3 daughters. But while he was married to her, he had children outside of their marriage while they were together.
And I want to say I am divorced because I cheated. I divorced because of my infidelity, not because of irreconcilable differences, but because I broke that covenant.
You've been very open over the years about past infidelity.
Yes.
And how you grew from that.
Yes.
What do you make of some people out there who will look at this decision to bring you in as senior pastor as new birth trading one controversy for possibly another?
Then he's also had other women that have been allegedly pregnant. He's had other children where there's supposed to be a grand total of 7 children, and of 7 children, 6 girls and 1 boy. Only 3 were from a marriage, and this is from a pastor. Now, he used to be a pastor in a church in Maryland, and he was there when he was, all his controversy, his church in Maryland was failing. He decided, he's going to move to Atlanta, and he ended up taking the mantle at a church called New Birth Missionary Baptist Church. Now, New Birth, before he was installed, he was the next pastor after a pastor named Bishop Eddie Long. And if you don't know about Bishop Eddie Long, let me give you the tea.
Jamal Harris says he's now haunted by a father figure, Bishop Eddie Long, pastor of New Birth Missionary Baptist, one of America's most powerful megachurches.
I cannot get the sound of his voice out of my head, and I cannot forget the smell of his cologne, and I cannot forget the way that he made me cry many nights when I drove in his cars on the way home, not able to take enough showers to wipe the smell of him off of my body.
As teens, Paris and 3 other young men claim Long adopted them as his spiritual sons, then exploited them. Their civil suits allege Long used script.
Now, this is the church that Kamala went to, the son of Jamal Bryant. Now, look at the history. I mean, at what point do us as Americans, especially Black Americans, do we just really just feel disrespected? You know what I mean? And the way that they keep coming at Black men doesn't even make sense. You know, you're not saying Indian men aren't coming out in groves for Kamala, or Mexican men, or whatever. Y'all have a fixation and preoccupation with the Black man and who he wants to vote for. We're voting for what is in our best interest in this country. And it is not Kamala Harris. Clearly, it's not.
Cars, jewelry, and trips on his private plane in a sexual seduction.
That's not a father. That's a predator.
Long built this megachurch into 25,000 members. 4 U.S. presidents attended Coretta Scott King's funeral here. He flaunts his wealth and his physique. His so-called muscular Christianity preaches homosexuality is sinful. Now these allegations.
I have never in my life portrayed myself as a perfect man, but I am not the man that's being portrayed on the television.
But here's what makes many church members here wonder. Long has never taken his public denials one step further, never said flatly these allegations are false.
America, we've got a big job to fill. Kamala Harris gets the...
All 4 teens met Georgia's legal age of consent, but that's hardly the moral standard for any pastor.
You are not a man, you are a monster.
Allegations that leave Long's congregation trying to decide whether their pastor is a predator.
In the speech, you said that you would fight the charges. So what?
Don't y'all see all the usual suspects? Steve Harvey, Usher, you know what I mean? You know, T.D. Jakes was caught up with the P. Diddy and all of this. They all are in the same cabal, obviously.
How did you settle the case?
The old gambler song, got know when to hold it, know when to fold it, know when to walk away. By then, after such attack of media, the stress of all of that and all of this, you got to look at what's happening to you. At that point, everyone who believed in you was still believing in you. At that point, who didn't believe in me wasn't going to believe in me, no matter what I did, no matter what the court said. And sometimes, even in life, you got to figure, am I going to win the battle or do I need to win the war? And so I had to make a decision to save me, save my family, and save the church, because continuing on was just going to be beat, and gives everybody more opportunity to beat up people.
Right. See, a lot of people struggle with the settlement. A settlement is not an admission of guilt in the court of law. The court of public opinion is different, though. See, when people hear settlement, they go the other way. You understand?
I understand that.
This cheating, philandering, and oftentimes, if you look at his messages, I don't even have time to include how much heresy and blasphemy that he preaches from the pulpit. It is an absolute disgrace. This man wants to be, a Hollywood celebrity. He's not looking to actually preach God's word. And to actually have Kamala Harris, they bring her in like she's Jesus Christ saving the world, and then actually have her preaching in the pulpit on the Sunday. We bless you, we bless you, we bless you, we bless you. Come on. Seek it out. Seek it out. We bless your name. We bless your name.
This man from the White House, he goes to Esther and says to Esther, who knows, but you were born for such a time as this. I don't know who's here. I know there are thousands of you who are online, but I'm not preaching to y'all for just one moment. Can I just preach to the vice president? Who knew that 60 years ago today, You were born to be president. You were born to lead a nation. You were born to change the trajectory of democracy. Who knows? But you were born for such a time as this.
This is what the black politicians do. Actually, Democrat politicians do. When they want a vote or they're in trouble, they go to the black church to stand up there and claim God or hot sauce or bathtub greens, whatever way they have to do it in order to gerrymander the black vote. See, this used to work maybe more in the civil rights era, when we were more of a monolith trying to work together, but that's all done away with. People are no longer voting because they feel like they have to stay on some plantation. And then when you vote the way you want to for your own economic interests or who you think is best for your family, for the country, or the policies that resonate with you, well, then you're misogynist. You're a race traitor. You're a coon. You're an Uncle Tom. You're a bed wench. All of the things they try to label you if you're black and you don't vote Democrat. How dare you vote for a Republican? How dare you vote for, be an independent and vote for a third party? How dare you stay home? Which we see the black turnout right now in Georgia and in North Carolina, as well as other states, that the black turnout is like alarmingly low for Democrats right now, but that's another video. So this is what they are doing. Remember, she has Usher that was, that's now campaigning for her. And about Usher is the person who, introduced Justin Bieber to Diddy, the same Usher that went to Flavor Camp with Diddy and wouldn't even let his own child go there. But he actually was also a member of, take a guess.
Election alert. Election day is on November 5th. Who you vote for is private, but if you vote is public information. After this election...
One of the churches that I went to at an early age was Bishop Eddie Long's church. I began to share personal things with him about my childhood, how I felt about life.
There's always the constant search from inside to be able to speak out and call somebody daddy. I believe that there was a kind of a hunger and a thirst there in Usher.
It helps that I can look at him as a dad or a fatherly image or a friend more than just a pastor. Because if I look at him as a pastor, then I would never be able to open up to him and tell him anything.
So yeah, they are on this train to shame black men because they are panicking. They are scared. And they will have this charlatan scam pastor do this. But it doesn't surprise me because that's who Jamal Bryant is. He's an absolute disgrace to the pulpit. He's a disgrace to black men. He's a disgrace, honestly, as an American. The fact that he thinks that he can label other people with his life the way it is. But see, they'll bring up Trump has all these charges, all these women and all that. But then they're at this church with this is their legacy, which they never denounced Pastor Eddie Long. They never denounced Pastor Eddie Long, kept him in the pulpit till the day he died. And then they bring in this man to take over the mantle. That's what they call it, the mantle, in this church speech. Guys, I'm done. I cannot stand these people. This is why black people in droves have been turning away not only from the black church, which is 90% single mothers, women. Men don't want anything to do with it. This is also why men are turning away from the dating market. That's a whole nother can of worms. But so they're done with the black church, and this is the reason why the way the black church has conducted itself is the same way the Democrat Party and the black shields in the Democrat Party treat black people.
Jamal Bryant, as a follower of Christ, I'm going to hold you accountable for this because time is imperative right now. And I've seen a few things that you have done that was kind of controversial, and I just, I never really spoke on it. But when it comes to you bringing this witch that we know, if you got any discernment, if If you call yourself a follower of Christ, okay, and the Holy Spirit lives within you, you know that this woman is a witch, and you bring her into the house of the Lord after she just kicked out 2 students for saying Jesus Christ is Lord. And a lot of people were speculating whether or not Kamala Harris was really speaking to them, but just know moments before they yelled out Jesus Christ is Lord and got kicked out, that's when Kamala Harris was on the stage talking about how she's going to overturn Roe versus Wade, which is giving women a permission to choose life or death when it comes to a seed that God has planted inside of a mother's womb. Jamal, I'm about to get you together real quick. I don't understand how y'all don't see the whole play in front of our face. Like, they literally had this woman at a rally kicking students out because they said Jesus Christ is Lord and were stating their beliefs on how they feel that literally unaliving a baby is okay. Like, we all know that. So at the end of the day, you're gonna have this witch inside of your church. And on top of that, I didn't even know what church it was. I just saw somebody post on TikTok that Kamala Harris was at their church, and I did my research. I found out that it was New Birth Church. So now I'm looking at New Birth, and I go on their Instagram. They got Beyonce playing in the background. They got all what is really going on in the church? That's why every platform that y'all see is not built on the foundation of God. We really have to sharpen our discernment in these last days and really ask God to really expose the wicked, because they are hiding in plain sight. You just got to have eyes to see. But let me know how y'all feel about this, because this is crazy.
That we're all plantation workers, we're all a monolith, and we all have to go along to get along. But I say, as you can see, all skin folk are not kinfolk. Guys, leave a comment below. Make sure you are looking.
Shout out to Melanie King. I've reported on things like this before with the black church. Now, at this point, we're looking at his sermon. He's saying Kamala Harris was born to lead the country. How blasphemous. Kamala Harris was raised Hindu. And whatever happened to the separation of church and state? These preachers are false prophets and con artists. There's no other way that you can even categorize them. You guys tell me what you think in the comments. This is Detroit's HPTV, signing to you out of Detroit. Support the nonprofit, Detroit's Black Thought and Action Collective. The Cash App is in the description. As always, salute to all patriots, and keep your head on swivel. And don't trust these wolves in sheep's clothing. Period. Peace.